What lessons can we learn from that about how to resist totalitarian regimes? Is there some deeper wisdom?
I just think it's admirable to be brave and uh, not do things that you cannot really uh, justify in front of your own conscience. I don't know if I would have been so brave. I don't even know, obviously, how my conscience would have been, but I'm probably more the fleeing type. Like a lot of writers would just leave Germany. Like Thomas Mann just left Germany and lived in Pacific Palisades.
And then maybe write, criticize, but leave first.
And he criticized it from the outside, and he was quite influential. Like he worked for the BBC. They did like shows against the Nazis. So maybe you can do more when you leave. It's just it's like today, let's say we see something, we live in a system that suddenly changes and we're not happy with it anymore. Do we just go along and continue to stare at our smartphone, or do we do something against it? What do we do? I mean, every situation has very different, you know, conditions. I think it's probably even harder now to be in the resistance than it was back then.
But I think it does, at the end of the day, boil down to facing yourself, looking yourself in the mirror, that you're
Right.
facing your conscience, and then doing the courageous thing. And I think that in itself, that like, it's the tree falling in the forest, even if there's nobody there to hear it. Just the fact that that exists somehow through the karma channels of the world can
Yeah.
materialize into progress, into a revolution against oppression. Something about that human spirit still shining through can start a revolution.
I mean, it is that spirit that actually made us human. It
Yeah.
is that that neuroplasticity in our brain that we do not just repeat the conditioned sets that we ought to repeat, but that we actually dim down the command center in the brain and let other parts of the brain react, which is the psychedelic experience, basically. That I think contributes to the evolution of our species, and our species is certainly threatened by extinction. So I think if we are somehow care for the human race, then resistance becomes a very uh, immediate and important topic, because you can resist. Obviously, your brain is yours. You can resist in many ways, by thinking. That's actually why I became a writer when I was a teenager. I was very political. I wanted to change the system. I thought this is not good. What's happening? This was in the Cold War. Very I don't know if conservative is even the right word, but Ronald Reagan was president. So I thought my writing could change the brain waves of the readers, basically, and therefore have a neuroplastic effect on the reader. And just because that is what literature is. Literature, and I started off as a novelist, so that's really literature. It's about what do you see right now? How do you describe it? So you do it in ways that when you read a good book, you feel good because suddenly you see different things, your brain changes, you become more free, I think, if you read good literature. That was always my form of resistance. Communist resistance cells would probably say this is nothing, but I think it is resistance. And that's a little bit, I think it resembles a little bit what this group did. Just living differently, not living. That's why I said in the beginning, Nazis are bad dancers, because they, like, I think they were good dancers at the parties, and they were like, I think dancing can be a form of resistance.
Yeah, but I also like the scale. When you resist, and through that resistance, you have impact at scale. And I do think writing is that. So if you can encapsulate your sort of the spirit of that resistance into writing, that's beautiful. And some of the greatest literature does exactly that.
Right.